time, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. And it is time for another episode of the Daily Leeds. Believe me, guys, it is a jam-packed show today. We have an exclusive interview with Victor Orta. We've got news on Gjanni Alioski, the under-23s, our retained list. It is a jam-packed show, so make sure you stick around for all the juicy latest Leeds United news. Before we do get into the video, smash a like on the stream. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes. Subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 3K now. You guys can make that happen. Get your comments in, and of course, hit that notification bell. And I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Leeds. Heard it right. It's going to be Just Joe, and it's going to be all about football. He showed descent. Van It's in! Yes! Yes! I don't see many more appearances from Pablo. Fantastic inaugural guest. I have to pull out the big guns. And this is the moment when I take a stand. So guys, we are going to start, first of all, quite a surprising one to start on a Leeds United daily update, news, podcast, whatever you want. Sir Alex Ferguson has come out and spoke about Leeds United, and he has admitted that Leeds United title credentials are impossible to ignore. Basically, what he said is, look, they have a massive chance of making a run at the Premier League. They are a one-club city. Leeds United will always have a chance of upsetting the apple cart and winning major honours, according to Alex Ferguson. The Manchester United legend was the source, was the Scrooge of Ellen Road for years as the leader of course, our great rivals, them from across the Pennines. However, there's always been a tone of begrudging respect from Alex Ferguson for the Whites, especially when it comes to, you know, the ferocity, the hostility, and the will to win against his beloved Manchester United. He did an interview with GQ to promote his new documentary about him and about the retired manager, and he's admitted that Leeds will always have a chance of repeating what Leicester City did. That's music to my ears as a Leeds United fan. Obviously, we are following that Leicester City model, and not that we need any convincing anyway, but I believe we all think, look, why can't we? Why wouldn't we? You know, with Bielsa, we've seen Leicester done it. They've won a Premier League, they've won an FA Cup in the last couple of years. They're competing at the top of the English pyramid for a few years, you know, missed out on Champions League, but they're so close, you know, they're so close to making that step up and breaking into that top four on a regular basis. And Ferguson believes we can, you know. He said at the end of the day, it's a one-club city. The background they have, similar to Leicester, another one-club city. He said, you know, an entire city pushing in one direction can be a powerful thing. He spoke about his time at Aberdeen and said the first year we got to 2 finals at Aberdeen. The next year we won the league. And from that moment on, it was a great place to be. It's a great city. And I always think one-town teams or one-city teams have a chance. Like Leeds in Leeds, Leicester in Leicester, you've got a chance of having a whole city behind you, which is, you know, it's so true. It is so true. One club city, you look at London, how many clubs are in there? You've got 2 in Liverpool, you've got 2 in Manchester, in the northeast, you've got a few, whereas Leeds really are Yorkshire. I know not a lot of clubs are like that, but listen, Leeds are synonymous with Yorkshire, and we are obviously a one-club city, and if Leeds United, if anyone's going to do it, why can't it be us? Why shouldn't it be us? We've got the best manager, the best. To be honest, we've got a Victor Orta interview, some bits that he did on the Phil Hayes show. Make sure you check that out. I'm going to put the link in the description to the Phil Hayes show podcast. But he spoke really well about Leeds. And when you've got people like him, you've got Orta, you've got the players that we've got. Why can't we make that next step? And Sir Alex Ferguson believes we can as well. We've also had an update from German outlet Kicker. It claims Leeds United have been intensifying their efforts to land Brazilian forward Matheus Cunha, despite Hertha Berlin being likely to stick with their €40 million valuation. Leeds are still interested. And will we see again another season where our transfer record is broken? It well could happen, as you would expect. You know, as the years go on, the transfer fees that we pay to improve the squad are going to get bigger and bigger, because that's what happens in the Premier League. And I think we are safe, though, in the knowledge of the people that are running our football club, that we ain't going to go daft. You know, we're going to stay within our remit. And let's be honest, even though we broke our transfer record this season with Rodrigo, in comparison to some of the fees get banded about in the Premier League, it's really, really small, if we're being totally honest. So I expect us at least for a good few seasons to continue to break it, or certainly get close to that ballpark figure. We're going to speak now about the retained list and obviously some information around Gjanni Alioski. Obviously, the club confirmed yesterday the players that will be released at the end of the contract this summer. Of course, we know about Gaetano Berardi. We know about Pablo Hernandez. He'll be moving on. Barry Douglas as well. Obviously, he spent some time on loan at Blackburn. He will be released as well, along with Ouasim Bouy. We never even see that guy play, and he's been pilfering a living for quite some time. Cole Gibbon, Nicholas Holland, Matthew Turner, and one Eunan O'Kane. So Eunan O'Kane will also be leaving the club, as you would expect. And that leaves one more up in the air, really, is Gjanni Alioski. We know he hasn't got a deal left. We know he's not signed a deal. We're led to believe he's not got a pre-contract agreement, because otherwise he'd have gone. He could have signed that around January, February, March time. And I'll tell you some more information about that a little bit later on with the Victor Orta interview. But listen, he has been offered a new deal. Yeah, the deal is on the table, and it has been for a while, you know. But Alioski, yes, he might not be a starting berther next season, and I think that's part of the reason why he's decided to not yet make that decision whether or not he'll stay with Leeds. Listen, you've got to put in a lot of factors. Could be the last big contract of his career. Does he have an opportunity to play across Europe at some top clubs in European football? I know we're a huge club as well, but we've not quite reached into Europe. And if he's getting offers from the likes of Napoli and whoever else was mentioned, I don't want to say their name on here, but they're also playing in Europe. So maybe he's got that to offer. He's got family to think of, his partner and his career. You know, his playing time, that's another thing. We know that, and he'll have been told honestly that, you know, probably next season, Gjanni, you're going to be second fiddle, you know. He might start the season, because we know that Bielsa does that, you know, but he might start the season, but he could quickly be overtaken by a fully recognised left-back, and then his appearances are limited. So there's loads on the table. But just on Gjanni, obviously he started 29 of Leeds' 38 top-flight fixtures, came off the bench in a further 7. He ended the season with an unbroken run of 11 starts in the left-back or left wing-back position. And in them run of games, we only lost once, and that was at Brighton, you know, and it wasn't his great performance. And that's what we've seen with Gjanni. And I suppose he has had peaks and troughs, but if you look at them 11 games on their own, he's only had one poor game within that 11 run. Yes, it cost us, but you know what I mean? I suppose he has streaky performances, but the length in which he's had good performances have increased towards the back end of the season. And let's not forget, he had great performances against sides like City, Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester United and Liverpool within that run. And for me, and I guess for a lot of fans as well, he's done enough to suggest he's developed and grown during this campaign. And to go up against top opposition, and he was a constant attacking threat, you know, in them games, and he came up against elite opposition, as I say, Man City, Spurs, etc. It's shown that his adaptation to the top flight was sufficient enough for us and for Marcelo Bielsa to be in favour of retaining him and keeping him at Leeds. And Bielsa spoke on the matter and said, look, if this is quotes as well, guys, if Alioski continues to stay with us, I will be satisfied. But the conditions that will allow Alioski to continue with us or not, that will be decided by Gjanni and the club, and any option that Alioski takes will be a legitimate one. And the position of the club is natural in that they will have to do what they can. So in other words, the deal is on the table from the club. It's up to Gjanni, and the ball's in his court. He says, what I can say that if Alioski and the club what I can say is if that Alioski and the club decide to continue the relationship, then I will be in favour of this decision. But the way in which the agreement is obtained or not, there are many variables that are calculated from the club on one side and from Alioski on the other. So you've got to think, as I said earlier, Alioski playing time, last big contract of his career. Does he have an opportunity to play across Europe? Does he want to move closer to his native North Macedonia? There's a number of factors, you know. And Bielsa went on saying those variables, I don't know what they are, and I try not to influence someone's decision, you know. So in other words, It's all Alioski. It's the club. I'm not involved in that. I've said if he wants to stay, give him an offer and I'll keep him. But Bielsa doesn't get involved in that sort of stuff. We know Bielsa said before, like with previous players, when players have been bought for a certain fee. I remember, I forget which player it was, and he came to the club and he turned around to him and said, the club have paid X amount for you, but I don't think you're worth that. Do you know what I mean? So he doesn't get involved in that side of things. Do you know what I mean? He'll be aware of what's going on, but it's not really for him to sit down and say, this is what, you know, we want you to stay, etc., etc. But since his arrival in July 2017, Alioski has played 171 times for the Whites, scoring 22 goals and adding 19 assists. And look, quality-wise, we need an improvement in that position, but I will always hold the fond place in my heart for Gjanni Alioski. He's been a great player, great servant to the club. I hope he does stay. Naturally, he will be a squad player, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. It is going to rumble on. Some more news as well, guys, just before we get to the Victor Orta interview. There is going to be a lot of planned recruitment, as was expected, for Mark Jackson's newly promoted under-23 sides, with potential loan departures for a possible number of the squad. Like I said, normally in this scenario, if you're being loaned out, then it isn't a good thing for me. If you're an under-23 and you're getting loaned out, I don't see it as being a good thing. Sorry to say, but, you know, we've seen Gotts, we've seen McCalmont, and I brought you the other week that McCalmont could be going, Gotts could be going. There's been a number of players, Bryce, Hosanna. We've seen many players go out on loan and not return to the football club. We know that Bielsa likes to keep his under-23s that are knocking on the door close to the squad, i.e. we've seen players on the bench, the likes of Geldart, Greenwood, Somerville, etc. They're very close to the squad. Therefore, he wants to keep them and believes they can develop better under his tutelage than going out. You know, much like Pep did with Foden. Case in point. It's a perfect case in point. As we know, though, like I said, they're going to bring in new recruits, and no doubt they would have to, because they're looking to add 3 or 4 new faces to the squad, because obviously we've been promoted from the Premier League we've been promoted into the top flight from the Premier League 2, Division 2, and it will pit us against elite Category 1 opposition, the likes of Manchester City, Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool, Manchester United. That's where we want our players to be playing their trade at under-23s level. You know, we know how good, for example, Chelsea's under-23s are. They just buy all the players up, don't they, and then loan them out. We've seen great products come through Spurs, Liverpool, Manchester United, etc. So, of course, that's going to take a step up in level. And what that's going to mean is that we're going to have to improve, you know, the players that we compete with in that league. And you know, players like Ollie Casey, he started 17 games in the league for Jackson and contributed to eight clean sheets, could follow in the footsteps of other academy graduates who have recently turned from loan and after a season away from Thorp. So I've been told by someone at the ground that Ollie Casey is going to move to Blackpool. I believe that's signed, sealed, delivered. So watch this space with that. Apparently we're willing to listen to offers for Sam Greenwood on loan, which again, this maybe is a switch up in how Bielsa's thinking about it, because I believe that if you go out on loan, then it isn't a good sign. But we know that Sam Greenwood is definitely one for the future. Maybe they look at him and say, right, because I suppose with us no longer being in the Championship and we've now consolidated in a sense in the Premier League, I know we're only up 1 season, but is Sam Greenwood going to get a place in that first team in the next 2, 3, 4 years? Maybe not in Bielsa's eyes. So what does he need to do? Right, we can't keep him in under-23s football for season after season. Maybe we look him out to loan. They were approached by all accounts in January. There were clubs in January in the Championship inquiring about his services, you know. But Bielsa wanted him to develop at that club at the time. I believe Cardiff was interested in Greenwood, but Greenwood spent time as a lone striker, as a number 10, often tucked in behind and played alongside and behind Joe Geldart. Obviously, he got some minutes in the FA Cup against Crawley as a second-half substitute. And he has been named among Bielsa's substitutes for a number of games, I think, along with the one at Manchester United, to be fair. He's been, you know, shortlisted for Player of the Year alongside Charlie Creswell. So he's going to be a hot prospect, but whether or not he'll be ready to move into the first team, we'll have to wait and see. So therefore, are they looking to loan him out? I do think this is an exception. If they do loan him out, I don't expect him to not come back to the club, because look, let's have a look at some of the other loans that have gone out from, Leeds United last season. Jordan Stevens, Ryan Edmondson, Bryce Hosanna, Mateus Bogus, Alfie McCalmont, and Robbie Gotts. They all went out. They all tasted first-team football. They all had decent success. Do you expect them lads to come back and to be playing first-team football or getting close to the first team? No. So for me, they will be sold. They will be moved on. There might be another loan or a loan with a view to a perm. And that's what I'm saying about the loan situation at Leeds. Normally when you go out on loan, there's not enough for any of them to be coming and getting time on in the first team. You have to be honest with yourself and look at the names. Edmondson, Stevens, Hosanna, Bogus, McCalmont, Gotts. I can't see it happening. They've had great times whilst out on loan, but you're going to then struggle to break into the first team. The difficulty for any player who spends time away from Thorp Arch not only lies in how hard it would be to break into the first team now we're in the Premier League, but obviously their 23's replacements are much better equipped, more technical ability. For example, if you look at, say, Edmondson come back, who's he competing with? He's competing with Greenwood, he's competing with Geldart, It's a difficult situation. I mean, likewise for Hosanna, he's coming back, and then who's he got in front of him? He's got Cody Drama, who looks like Luke Ayling's long-term successor. So it is going to be a season or off-season of change for the under-23s. That is for sure. That is for certain, guys. So we'll have to wait and see on this part. And now, guys, I'm going to bring you the exciting part, the interview with one Victor Orta. This was on the Phil Hay show, put together by the lads at the Square Ball. I am going to put the link in the description as well, so you can check that out if you want to in full. But I'm just going to go through some of the key bits that I've noted down that I wanted to discuss. It was a great interview with Victor Orta. First of all, we're going to start with Rodrigo de Paul. Of course, we know Dan Moylan is a massive, massive fan of Rodrigo de Paul. He mentions it week after week. He's tweeted him like he's tried to do with Mateus Cunha. And Victor Orta said, look, it's a player that we really like. However, it's very, very difficult because he has a great valuation. His stock, his price is just rising and rising. He's been linked with top clubs in Italy. He's even been linked with Liverpool. I think the deal won't get done. It's going to be too expensive for Leeds United to do. It's going to be far too expensive for us. So we have to pour water on that, which Phil Hay has done for months and months and months and months. I know not Leeds fans don't want to hear that, but it is what it is. They also asked him about, obviously now, is he in a position where he knows where his players are and who he wants to go after? And he said, basically, you have like two parts, right? You have the technical side, which is the scouting, the watching the videos, they're going to see them regularly, week after week, doing data analysis. And we know that Victor has this list and he has all this data. He said that is 100% done now. Yeah, I don't need no more videos. He said back in the day, before all this scouting came in, you would look at players at the Euros, at the World Cup. We've seen it before, and it was a great analogy, is when he mentioned about Senegal, the year that they had in that World Cup, and you had El Hadj Diouf, Papa Bouba Diop, and they all went to big clubs in the Premier League because they had such good Euros. El Hadj Diouf was never a Liverpool player. Never. Diop, the same. All these players. But they took a chance because they had a good World Cup. Victor Orta said, in today's world, if not even at professional level, at under 21s level, he says, if I don't know every single player that plays for a top nation at under 23s level or under 21 tournaments, then I need to be sacking my scouting. So in other words, they already know. They don't need to wait for Euros. They don't need to wait for World Cups to check these players out because they already know who they are. Each club, especially at top level, has long lists and videos, and they're always getting contacted by agents and stuff. He made a tongue-in-cheek comment and said, I get contacted all the time to be say, oh, I've got Senegal's next Messi example. So they have all the information they already need. So he says, look, we're 100% done from that side. I know who we want. We don't need no more videos. We don't need no more scouting. It is already done. Yeah. So when we see the links to the likes of Parade, Mateus Cunha, Nandez, who I brought you yesterday at Cagliari, know that they are prominent and real links. These are players that we're definitely after. you know. And he did go on to say this, it's about quality over quantity, much like it was last season. I think that's why he gets a bit of a bad rep for his first season, and everyone said he was no good after his move from Borough, is because he was given a different remit. We had no under-23s. The squad wasn't great, and he had to flesh it out. And he did buy a lot of duffs, but some of them went on to be sold for decent money on top of, you know. But he had a certain remit. Once that remit's changed, look at the quality that we've brought in season after season after season, even at under-23s level, and then moved them on for a higher price. This is what it's about. They said to him, look, do you know the positions? He said, listen, I don't need to tell you the positions. You know the positions. Of course I know the positions. Obviously, left back being one. And I want to use this as an example. You know, they asked him, do you have the number of players? And he said, look, weeks ago, we'd have had a list of 20. Now it's down to 2 or 3. Now the lists of players are down to 2 or 3. Okay. So he has like 2 or 3 players. So I look at left back, for example, I'm going to use that. For me, he's got 2 players. The ones that keep getting linked. Berardi and Tagliafico. They're the 2 left backs that Leeds United are after for me. Obviously, that may be wrong, but the fact that he's mentioned you got 2 or 3, and just by process of elimination, maybe you took Bonasosa in there. I'm not sure, but then are the 2 that you know are the ones that we go after. So although the scouting side and the technical side and the players list is all 100% done, the next bit is obviously about getting them deals done. Are the players available from the football clubs? What's the price we've got to be paying? What's the wage we're going to pay? You know, he mentioned about the Rafinha one. Always interested, wasn't available. Then they get a call. He's available. So things change like that. So the technical, the players that we want, all done, all sorted. In an ideal world, they'd be able to go, yes, 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 and get number 1 pick. All be done now. But obviously, there's the other side of it that still needs work. Okay. They asked him where we're looking at, and he said, look, we're shopping in the top 5 to 8 European leagues. You know, so that's where our ballpark is. And of course, the likes of Berardi and Tagliafico play within that time. They spoke to him about certain players and what happens when it goes wrong. And he says, look, when it goes wrong, I feel shit, you know, naturally. He spoke about Ben White. You know, he did speak about Ben White and showed how quick things can turn. And we as fans have a duty of care on social media, because he said, and I quote, he said Ben White reminded him of Sergio Ramos. He's seen him against Newport and was like, who is this kid? Who is this Ben White? You know, that is some praise indeed. Look, I did a video before for Sky where I said he would get in the England squad. Know that if he makes that final cut, that is going out on social media, because Wayman called that stuff. But he mentioned about social media and how an important, you know, thing we have, you know, because if you remember his first game against Bristol City, he said within the first moments, he was put under pressure. I remember at JUSTJOE, Cruyff turned him, he played a ball out to the left to Jack Harrison, and we were like, wow. Next home game, Lewis Graben, he did a great man-marking job on Lewis Graben. Everything was good. The whole fans were like, wow, this is some baller that you have found. But he said, had that have gone wrong, had a mistake been made, the fans' interpretation would have been like, you've sold Janssen for this? What? And it is so true how little moments can have the slightest, you know, impact. So we have a duty of care as fans on social media as well. We need to give players time, you know. It's something to be conscious about. He spoke about Robin Koch, about that deal, and he said, look, people say, oh, I found a gem, but, you know, Borussia Dortmund tried to get Robin Koch a week before he signed to Leeds. Obviously, we were way down the pecking order, and he was ready to move. But Dortmund actually inquired about him a week before that shows you the level that Robin Koch is at. I just wanted to stick that in there on as well. Obviously, as I've just mentioned, he mentioned about balance on social media. He spoke about the atmosphere at the club currently, and how, you know, one piece of advice he was given was, how do you win a league title? And he was like, from the office all the way to the playing people, Bamford putting in goals. It is about that synergy, that energy that you create as a football club. He mentioned on a Friday they played games where they, you know, trying to put the ball in the back of the net, and he'll buy them lunch and stuff, which I think is absolutely amazing. I myself, as I'm listening to it, thinking, I need a job at Leeds United. I need a job at Leeds United, even if it's cleaning out the bins, walking around with the mail thing. Just give me a job, just so I can have a game of football with Victor Orta on a Friday. You know what I mean? I thought it was amazing. Look, he spoke in detail about Gjanni as well, and said, look, we had a good meeting face to face. We've not had an opportunity to do that because football's on. But he said, you know, we had a good meeting face to face. He said about Gjanni, it's about what he wants in terms of playing. You know, we know that his playing time is probably going to be limited next season. It's about the money as well. We've got to think about that. What kind of offer Leeds are giving him as opposed to other clubs. What he did say is that, look, there is no way that Gjanni Alioski had a pre-contract agreement on the table, because you can offer players pre-contract agreements from January, January, February, March time, yeah? And he says, I know he had offers, yeah? So he knows he definitely 100% had offers on the table for Gjanni Alioski. But he says he didn't have them, and I'll tell you for a reason why. He said, because normally when players play a pre-contract agreement, the last 10 games of the season was arguably Alioski's best level at a Leeds United player. And if they have a pre-contract agreement, they're in the stands. They don't want to know. They don't want to injure themselves like, Berardi did before. And there's not to say, because they said, well, did he do that because he was thinking if he got injured, you would support him? And he said, yeah, that's fair enough. But ultimately, the money you get if you're injured as a favour is nowhere near close to what we would give you as if you were playing, So there's a big thing there. But I think it's testament to Gjanni, I think it's testament to Gjanni and the performances he's been putting in. He did speak about Berardi as well, and I think after Derby, with the mistake that he made, he wanted to leave at one point, and he said, we had a conversation, and he said, do not leave this football club. You have a chance to play in the Premier League for this football club. And he said, after the game, he reminded him of that conversation. So Berardi was close to leaving. Maybe he felt the weight of the city on him and the mistakes that he'd made. Thankfully, he stayed and he got the send-off he deserved. He said one of his main goals is to change the pessimistic nature of us, the fans. And let's be honest, we are a pessimistic bunch, I try to be as positive as possible, and so many people drag that down, but a lot of it is due to the fact that where we've been, where we've gone, and where we're at now. And he said, I want to be in a situation where in 20 years, that pessimism has gone, because our children and your children are only used to success. And that's one of his main goals. And I love to hear that. He spoke about the fans as well. He said he spoke about his time at Sevilla, and he said they just got it. They were a huge fan base. They understood it. He then spent time away, and I wanted to get this in. This is a little dig at Borough. He went to Borough. Then when he came back to Leeds, and he fell back in love again because he understood the fans. So he's been at a number of clubs between Sevilla and Leeds. And he got his heart back when he was at Leeds, because teams like Borough fans, no good. I just wanted to get that in there. Like he said, he knew the passion was the same. He also did say there is zero chance that I will go to another club in England. Love for Leeds United is just 100% now. And he said, and I quote, there is zero chance that I could go to another club in England. So whenever his time comes to an end, it's not going to be at another club in England as a sporting director, which is class to hear. And you'd think like Bielsa, etc., would be the same. And then just to sign off, which I thought was an amazing sign off, as well as his goal to change us from this pessimistic bunch into total positive fans, he said his goal was to see 4,000 Leeds United away supporters in Europe. That is his main goal. We nearly got there this season, but next season maybe it'll happen. But his main aim was to get 4,000 travelling Leeds away vitriolic supporters in an away ground in Europe. Loved it. Amazing interview. Get your comments in. Let me know what you guys think. And you can check the link out below for the full interview. It is worth a listen if podcasts is your thing. Longer episode than normal, but loads to jam pack into it. Thank you if you've stuck to the end. I really enjoyed this episode. Watch out later for the Top Flight News Bite. Keep it locked at the Just Joe Football Show. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace. Leeds.